Welcome to this episode of the Shared Security Show. And joining me today is Kelly Finnerty, Director of Brand at Startpage, who is going to speak with me about the topic of digital well-being. Welcome back to the show, Kelly.
Thanks, Tom. Nice to be here.
Yeah, it's nice to have you back. And you were back on the show. It was actually back in 2020, I believe.
Yep. Early COVID lockdown days.
Yep. Back in the day. Wow, that seems like ages ago.
Look how far we've come.
Oh, yeah. Where it's like we're still in the same place. Wow.
We're still in the same place, but like my home setup has gotten better, and like my tech setup and my overall day flow has improved.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
Early days, I was trying different corners of my house every other day. Which day's the best day to take a call from?
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah.
It feels a little bit more permanent now.
That's right. Well, maybe one day, maybe we'll do this again in a year. We'll see. We'll revisit and see if we've made any progress in this pandemic.
Or if it's an in-person interview.
Hey, wow. That would be pretty amazing. We don't have to use this anymore, right? Yeah, that's totally crazy. So before we get into talking about digital well-being, can you give our listeners just a quick overview about you and what you do at Startpage?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm the director of brand at Startpage, which is a privacy technology company that helps people take control of their personal data. And my role in the company is working across the product teams to really communicate to the community why privacy is important, how Startpage can help you, how the products within Startpage can help you, and just help educate, inform, and raise awareness around privacy. So that's what I'm focused on every day. And I work with an awesome team of great people to make that happen.
Yeah, that's great. I'm a big fan of Startpage. I have this nice sweatshirt
that I didn't notice that earlier.
Yeah,
how did I miss that?
So I probably because you couldn't see it in the camera, but so thank you, by the way, for the sweatshirt. And I'm a big promoter of Startpage, and I love what you guys are doing, and I know our listeners do as well, because our listeners care a lot about privacy and their information. So we're really glad to see what you guys do.
That's awesome. I mean, yeah, this is the community, right?
Yeah,
I feel
exactly.
like the people who listen to you are on the forefront of privacy, forefront of technology. And the more that this group of people is talking about it, sharing about it, the better for everyone.
Absolutely. So let's get into digital well-being. So maybe first, maybe explain, what do we mean by digital well-being?
Well, it's a highly personal thing. So what it means to me probably means something else to another person.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that we're generally looking at it is, how does our new online lives impact the way that we think? How does it impact our relationships? How does it impact our health? People spend a lot of time online, and probably even more so during this pandemic. And so it is a huge part of our life. It's a huge time sucker in our life. And digital well-being is taking a step back to say, how is this adding value to my health, my mental wellness, my relationships, and really figuring out how to take back a bit of that control for yourself and make technology work for you versus you working for technology.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, statement about digital well-being. I mean, I find myself, and I'm sure you do as well, just because of the pandemic and what's going on in the world, that we do, like they call it, doom scrolling, right, on social media, just looking for the next bad story, because, and we're always looking for things to like make us feel better about the situation that everybody is in.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. We just now, we're more attached to our devices than ever. And I think there's some big health and especially mental health issues with that.
Definitely. I saw this meme that depressed me, but I also said, yeah, that's me. It's like, during the day, I look at my medium screen, and at nighttime, I get to look at my big screen with my little screen in front of me. And it's just like, oh
Yeah.
my goodness, that's too true.
Oh, completely. And like, I love watching like shows on Netflix and Amazon Prime, like everybody else. And
Yeah.
the other day, just, talking with my wife, like, how many streaming services do we actually have now? Like, we're losing track. Like,
Yeah.
did that actually was that actually a thing like 2 years ago? Or now we
Yeah.
have all these streaming services, and to your point, we're now attached to those screens, a big screen and then a little screen, and
And
it's
it's
just
all
crazy.
connected, Tom. It's all connected,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
search for a product or an issue on my little screen, and then on my big screen in
Yeah.
between my shows, I'm seeing an ad about it. And it's like these are not individual experiences that we're having. These are actually all connected experiences that we don't see the back end connection that big tech is collecting. And
Yeah.
all of these online experiences that we're having or getting put into this digital profile that's getting so creepily smart about each one of us in order to manipulate us in some way,
Yeah.
which is not good for your digital well-being.
No, no, not at all. And it is getting creepy too, in terms of like, you search for something on Amazon, then all of a sudden that appears in Instagram, or, things similar to the product you were looking for. And so there's that constant tracking that you just mentioned, is very concerning. And I think it freaks a lot of us out that we've allowed this to happen
Yeah.
willingly. um, it's
And like
interesting
even
times.
if we're aware about it, I mean, I was surprised by this statistic, but in research they were saying that the average person sees 4,000 to 10,000 ads a day.
Oh, crazy. Yeah.
So if you don't think that you can be manipulated, you're completely naive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we may not even know it, but when we're being served ads, our minds are being manipulated, into certain thought patterns, and other things that are, because we're human, right? We
Yep,
get emotional about things, and it causes us ultimately to purchase products or click on links, and sometimes leads us down a bad path. Um,
totally.
so maybe that gets into like, what are some of the kind of mental and financial and like social impacts of like all this constant tracking that we have?
Yeah. I always find it best, and I kind of relate more to real world stories. And so our team was doing some research to really uncover because so much of so much of online tracking is like this black box that we don't
Yeah.
know what's
Yeah.
happening. So these real world stories to know like this is genuinely happening. So this is helpful. So a few of them that are relevant for this. Um, a journalist was writing about the fact that she was pregnant. So probably that whole like 9 month plus period, she had been searching about, you know, what's happening with her health during pregnancy,
Hmm.
um, through to buying items for her nursery, right? And so that's filling your search engine, your social feeds, and unfortunately, really sadly, she shared in her article, she had a stillborn baby at birth, which
Oh,
is just the most horrible, tragic thing. And she comes home from the hospital and she's recovering from that. And what is her entire digital feed, from ads on television to on her streaming to ads on her phone? It's all ads about being a new mother because she'd been tracked to the
yeah.
point of when they knew she was meant to have this baby. And so, like, receiving emails about congratulations. And it was just, she was like trapped in this like ecosystem of pain,
Wow.
that was inescapable, because she had kind of created this bubble around her of online tracking, and everyone was very excited about a new parent because that's one of the highest segments to target as a advertiser. You know that new parents are willing to spend a lot of money or about to spend a lot of money. So she was just getting served ads left and right, and like emotionally traumatizing for her.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Another journalist did an experiment where he stopped using social media. I don't remember the exact amount of time that he did it for, but he ended up comparing his credit card statements from the time during his pause of social media to before. And he spent a significant amount less of money because he wasn't being served like all of these ads for, for food
Yeah.
delivery or for
Yeah.
products. He actually ended up saving money because
Wow.
he had just turned off his just that open platform of social media to receive all of these ads. So just by kind of blocking that exposure, he started saving money.
Yeah. Wow.
Um
Crazy.
Yeah, and like I mean, the list goes on. Facebook is getting hit hard, right? With coming out about how invasive, how dangerous their data collection processes are, and not even like I mean the data collection process, but like how it can be used. It's come out that in presentations to advertisers they have shared that they can spot the exact moment when a teenager is feeling insecure about themselves as like a target moment for a brand to participate in advertising to serve them an ad. Like maybe it's an acne treatment ad or something like that. And it's
Right.
just like Facebook is very aware of the sentiment, the emotions, the feelings that people are having on both Instagram and Facebook and leveraging that to make money, which just feels wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting too. And since all that information came out in the news, and this is a couple months ago, I've seen ads both online and on TV from Facebook kind of promoting this. Hey, we care about your privacy and we're promoting privacy legislation and all these other things. And I think it's kind of interesting to hear, here's what's really going on and what was exposed like through that whistleblower. And
Yeah.
now kind of backpedaling a bit and
Yeah.
interesting how, you know, this all happens.
So Startpage has been around for 15 years. So we've definitely seen this
Yeah.
evolution of it, but no one's really solved this big problem that you're pointing out here is like, who's responsible for it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So is it government? Is the government entirely responsible to create legislation and then also watchdog services to make sure that companies follow the legislation and then fine them if they do
Yeah.
and take action on it? But what happens with government, like putting the control or putting the onus only on government, it they're going to be 10 steps behind every
That's not going to
time.
end well.
And then you go,
Yeah.
you think, okay, so like let's put it on the individual companies. And you know what? We just know that ethically, the desire to make the mighty dollar is going to beat out the hey, I don't know who this person is on the other side of this data collection practice, but I know I can make money from them. I'm going to make the money.
Yeah.
Like we just know that no matter how much we talk about it's an issue, there's still going to be companies and people out there who are there for the profit. So when it comes down to it, and Startpage has seen this for 15 years, it comes down to the individual taking that power and taking that onus on themselves to protect themselves. So that's why products like Startpage, there's other great products in the sphere out there that are privacy minded products. So right now, while you're waiting for government to catch up, while you're waiting for big tech to have more of an ethical presence,
Oh.
it's really up to you, the person, to
Yeah.
pick and choose what products you use.
It does, absolutely. Always back to the individual. I mean, we have the power, right, to choose the actions or the services that we want to interact with, and we really have a lot of power, to be honest. What does it mean to go off the grid? Well, for most of us that are constantly relying on our phones, tablets, and laptops, it means shutting them off and doing some other activity like enjoying nature or spending time with friends and family. Now, you're probably a lot like me and struggle with turning off or putting down that smartphone because we always feel the need to be constantly connected. Listen, it's hard to go off the grid, but the good news is that there are products that can help. So that's why I recommend using a silent Faraday bag, which can instantly block all wireless signals, quickly taking you off the grid and giving you back control of your wireless devices. Check out their full product line at slnt.com. And because you listen to this podcast, make sure you use discount code SHAREDSECURITY at checkout to receive 10% off your order.
You want your organization to be secure and compliant and to have a healthy culture. But your employees' lack of awareness makes you vulnerable to data theft, fraud, and compliance penalties. It's frustrating that the boring, static training content that's being used today has failed to improve employees' ability to defend against cyber attacks. At ClickArmor, we know that without using gamification, it's extremely hard to get staff to understand how to avoid threats. Our gamified simulations and challenges have provided a 50% average improvement in thousands of employees' ability to spot phishing threats. Go to clickarmor.ca/sharedsecurity to get your free gamified phishing assessment for up to 500 employees. You'll see quickly how gamified simulations can help your team be more resilient and compliant and help avoid costly ransomware and fraud incidents. Let ClickArmor help you go from being an underappreciated, stressed out fall guy to being an innovative leader who's the catalyst for greater productivity in your organization.
Speaking of the individual, right? So what are some approaches, tactics that, all of us can use to kind of take care of ourselves and our digital well-being?
I would start with first taking a look at how you're spending your time online.
Yeah.
What platforms are you using the most? Literally like hourly. Where are you
Oh, yeah.
spending your time? And then take a look at your goals for your life and
Yeah.
be like, do these match what I'm looking to do? Like, does this take away from my family? And does this take away from my career? And kind of really have a think
Yeah.
about that. But then also start to zero in on those platforms or those products that you're using. Think about the browser you use online. There are definitely some more privacy minded browsers out there that do
Yeah.
help and give you more power when it comes to what personal data is being shared. So there's an excellent site called Think Privacy. You can go there. They outline browsers on there and their privacy practices and just figure out which is the right one for you. Same thing with your messenger services. Figure out, which is the right service for you. If you want to use social media is really fun. It's a great way to connect, but spend some time in your default settings. Go in there and see, what
Yeah.
options do I have to protect myself in there? And it takes some time, but we're at the beginning of the year, right? Everyone's writing their New Year's resolutions. Take the time to
Yeah.
do this. The other thing is when you look at where you're spending your time, what apps are on your phone. A lot of apps are collecting location data, access to your microphone, access to your photos. That is not necessary on all of them. And a lot of times they just have it as this default option. So there's no break in their performance, or they
Yeah.
are siphoning off your data to sell. So go into the apps that you're using and just take a look at all of like what information is being stored. And then the apps that you're not using, get rid of them.
Yeah.
Delete them. You don't need them. Clear out that mental space for you. Those would be my recommendations on it. And then if it's helpful, if when you do review how much time you're spending online and where you're spending it, if it is seeming like it's too much or you are feeling anxiety from it, build out some time that you're not online. Seriously, like limit yourself, whether you need a
Yeah.
block in your calendar that's like get outside
Yeah.
or put your phone away. Like you need to program that for yourself because it's important to have that break.
I totally agree. And I think that's one of the things that like the pandemic has given a lot of us is I think opportunity to think about how we use our devices, our smartphones, our TVs, all this technology, and maybe take a step back and get back to things like reading physical books. And that,
No.
yeah, I know there's actual physical paper books still. And I know that's something me personally that I've gotten back into since the pandemic, and
Right.
that's been really good for my mental health. Is it takes me away from a device. I'm doing something else. I'm still engaging my brain. Same thing with exercising.
Yep.
Start thinking of like healthy habits that you don't need a device for. That you can just put your device down and maybe do something else that's a little more healthy. And like you said, this is January, beginning of the year. This is a great time
Yeah,
to set a good cadence or something new in the year.
definitely.
So tell us a little bit about what's going on at Startpage. Love to hear about anything new coming up and stuff that you're working on.
Amazing. Well, with this speaking about digital well-being, thinking about third-party tracking, this is something our team has really looked at for quite some time. And for the last 15 years, we have been the world's most private search engine. So we never collect people's IP addresses and we deliver the best in class search results without you having to sacrifice your personal privacy. We do have anonymous on there, which allowed you to like open websites in a proxy, but largely our ability to help and protect people was contained to private search.
Yeah.
So over the last year, as the pandemic is growing, it was more and more in reality that third party tracking, this giant digital profile that big tech is collecting on people, was a growing problem. So much so that it was impacting people's mental health and physical health. We as a team said we need to go beyond private search and help people beyond private search. So, very excitingly, on Tuesday, January 18th, we have launched Startpage Privacy Protection, which is a browser extension that blocks third party cookies on any website you're visiting. So,
Awesome.
you know how confusing it is when you see like if you want to
Oh
access a
my god.
site and it's like accept all cookies or
Oh,
don't, and
so
then
annoying.
the decision tree you have to
Oh,
go through to get through that
terrible.
matrix is
Yeah.
horrible. So now you can actually hit accept all cookies, and this free extension immediately blocks trackers and cookies in there. It's
Nice.
using the open source code from Privacy Badger,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep. Very familiar.
on top of that, it disables fingerprinting. It blocks social media tracking as well. So, kind of connecting how it's all connected. It's going to
Mm-hmm.
help block that for you. It sets Startpage as your default search engine. So, you can search directly into your address bar, your searches, and those search queries will never be recorded. So, you're not creating that long tail digital footprint on yourself. And the awesome thing too is that it's all about empowering the person to make their own decisions and to be able to have more control of their personal data. So you install the browser extension, and then in your browser toolbar, you'll be able to see a little shield with the start page icon on it, and it'll tell you the privacy rating, 1 out of 5, 5 being the
Mm-hmm.
best, like most privacy of each site that you're on. So if I'm on a site that's a 1, I'm like, okay, this is not the place to enter my credit card details.
Yeah. Right.
Like a high alert. You
Yeah.
also can click open the shield and it will
Mm-hmm.
show you how many cookies and trackers are being blocked from that site. We did a review of some of the top 10 most popular websites in the US. On one of them, we found over 46 trackers on one website.
Oh, yeah.
On one
Not surprised.
website.
Yeah.
So I've had
Crazy.
it installed for 2 weeks. I have almost 5,000 cookies and trackers blocked. And that's by doing nothing other than having the extension blocked.
Mm-hmm.
So from the start page side, we've always been great at protecting people's search. Now we're protecting their cookies we're protecting their personal data from the other websites that they visit. So you can search on start page, go to a website. When you're on
Yeah.
that website, your privacy is still being protected.
I love it. That's great. And so
Yeah,
is that available for Chrome, Firefox? I
both.
assume supported for both.
Yeah. So super easy. Just go to
Hmm.
add.startpage.com/protection. It also will be readily available on startpage.com, but the actual site to learn more about it is add.startpage.com/protection. On there, it'll link you to whichever browser you're on to the install store. So
Hmm.
for Chromium based browsers, there's the Chrome store, and then one's built on Firefox, the Firefox add on extension store. So it works Chrome, Firefox, Brave, Vivaldi. What's
Oh, nice.
interesting with, like, let's say Firefox and Brave, when I'm using the extension on Chrome, I see a higher amount of cookies and trackers being blocked than I do on Brave, because Brave has some of those
Yes.
built
Yep.
in. Not all,
Hmm.
though. Like, you still get some cookies and trackers that are being blocked by our extension. So it's definitely still a useful tool to add on, even if you're using a privacy minded browser.
Yeah, absolutely. That's always been my recommendation as well. I've been a big proponent of Firefox
Yeah.
because they have a lot of great privacy features that are enabled really by default now, especially with the latest version. And
Yes.
something like your browser extension is something I would always recommend on top of what Firefox already does. It's another great layer, I think, for people. Because just with the browsers themselves, they don't catch everything, and so having what you guys are using as an extension, I think, is a great add-on that everyone should start using.
It's awesome. It also, like, if you're really curious about what goes on behind third party tracking, this is the tool that's going to really help you understand it. Because what you can do per website and then collectively, it actually outlines the major and minor trackers, third party trackers that are on that website. So there are ones on there where, like, and you can see, you can go to their website and see, like, who is this company?
Yeah.
Tons of advertisers are on there, like
Hmm.
advertising companies. But then there was, like, ones about, they were selling information to insurance providers, a company.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
the we can always say, like, oh, hey, I don't mind personalized ads. I'm not impacted by it. But one, you are, but then two, there is a darker side of third party tracking that people are not aware about. Going back to some real world examples, uh, someone on our team shared an article that is about a priest who lost his job because through an online dating app he was using, a company that was investigating him. So, right, there was
Yeah.
already a group of people who wanted to have this priest removed from his position. So they bought data from a data broker who is buying data from the dating app that this priest was on, and he thought people didn't know he was on it. They bought data through, so the app wasn't sharing the data,
Yeah.
but they did allow a third party tracking company to have a cookie on there. So then this company that was investigating the priest bought data from that data harvester, and the data can't show like any personal information,
Yeah.
but they were able to get the location data. And then they took the
Oh,
location
no.
data and they matched that to gay bars.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I
And
think I
by
heard this.
using that
Oh,
information, the priest
yeah.
was let go of his position.
Yep.
So even if you're cool with ads and personalized ads, your data is out there and it can be
That's
used
right.
in a lot of different ways that you're not thinking about against you.
Yeah. Wow. That's just a crazy story, and I'm sure one of many
Well, that's the tough
examples,
thing,
right?
Tom, right?
Oh,
Because it's like a lot of stuff
yeah.
we never even know about.
No, we don't. We don't. Wow, this is crazy. So we will definitely have links to in our show notes to the browser extension. I know you mentioned
Wonderful.
another link as well for our listeners. How any other great resources that how do our listeners obviously go to Startpage to find out more? Your blog. We've had all those linked before, but is there anything else that listeners can go to?
I mean, you have such an awesome community of really smart and in the know people. We'd love to hear from all of you on Twitter. We're on there day in, day out. If you try the extension and you have some feedback, like let us know. We're at Startpage on Twitter. One kind of fun thing that I'm excited about once it launches is there's a privacy report in the extension that shows how many trackers and cookies you're up to. So you can go in and check. And I'm close to 5,000. um you know let
Yeah.
install the extension. I want to know like when you get to 1,000. I want to know.
It's a competition.
Yeah, it's a competition. So hit us up at Startpage on Twitter. I think that's a really fun space
Awesome.
for us to share ideas too.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, this has been great, Kelly. Awesome to catch up and,
Yes.
great to talk about this really important topic that I think we all need to really think about our digital well-being. It's just so important, especially now with what's going on in the world. And just, thanks so much for being on the show.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for all the work that you're doing. It's really appreciated.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks, Kelly.
All right, have a good one.